All right, working with your grids. Let me go ahead and just play this for you real quick. So you can see with these two tracks, this bass line is actually in line with those kicks. Let it come back around and I'll show you. So you can see this bass, this synth right here is in line with that kick, and then that one's in line with that kick. These lower notes are kicks. So these are basically hitting when these kicks are hitting for the most part. So a lot of times when you're laying down stuff on your keyboard, you're banging your drums off, you're banging your bass off, and more than likely you're gonna have to go back and shift a few notes here and there to get your tracks in line. If it's gritty and you like it gritty, then leave it. But if you want to do your note adjustments, what you're gonna have is you got this upper window, which is actually good for splitting tracks. Like if I wanted to split that, I could just split it and move it, doing big adjustments like that. But this lower window is where you do all of your note movements or your fine adjustments and stuff. So what you have to do, this grid setup, this bar setup up here, I think is for just recording. When you're actually recording in the live, you set this up, and that will actually record the 30-second notes or quarter notes, whatever. I think that's the global record bar setup. When you're editing, you need to right click and then select your grid, like so. If you select 30 seconds and you zoom in, the grid will get bigger because you're zooming in. So I like to set the upper one up with, a fairly big grid, because I like to be able to see. Real easy up in this window. And then if you just click one of your tracks, it will load it up in all your notes in this lower editing window. And the same thing down here, you can zoom in and out, and you can play back. You got the little scrub button for playback. And also, if you right click on this window down here inside your editor, you can select the grid for down here. So I like to set my lower one up to usually like 30 seconds. That way I have let me click on that track. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this note. I like to set this lower grid up real fine. That way I have real fine movements over those notes. And you can see, that note moving there. So, or let's say if I wanted to get this one in line with this kick right up here, all I got to do is grab it and just move it and get in line. So I'm actually clicking the lower one and moving it, but I'm looking at this upper window, and I'm lining this bass synth up right here with that kick. So I'm using this upper window to get all these notes in line. Another thing you can do is if you hit shift and click your notes, you can actually go up here. Actually, let me unclick those. If you look up here, quantize is actually grayed out to where you can't use it. So what you have to do if you want to use that is go ahead and hit shift and click your notes. And then go to edit and quantize, and that it will quantize those notes. A little window will come up and it'll ask you if you want to, what grid you want to quantize to. If you want to move it like 30 seconds or 16ths, you can adjust it to where it starts at the beginning of that note, but then it doesn't, if you wanted to go the whole 30-second or whatever, you can set it all up in this window. Or you can also hit all to quantize all of these notes. If you don't want to move them around by hand, that might be a quicker way for you to work. But that's how I like to set the grids up. I like this upper one, kind of a big grid view, and I like the lower one pretty much to where I can move stuff around real fine. And that's how I like to work with it in live. That's how you set these grids up. Right click, set your grid up.